Hey everyone, Alpha Eagle here again. Welcome back to my channel. I pray you're all doing well, and may God bless you all. In this video, I'll be giving my thoughts on the first 3 episodes of X-Men 97. The reason why I say thoughts and not review is because I kept my word, and I didn't pay Disney to watch these episodes. I didn't even technically see the entire episodes. I did, however, see a few of these React channel reviews, and they practically show the entire episodes in their reviews anyways. But if I get something wrong about the show, feel free to correct me in the comments. Now, before we begin, as I said before, I can relate to the X-Men. I'm a straight, white, MAGA, conservative Christian male, and there are a lot of people who hate me just for one, if not all 6 of those descriptors. I've used the slurs chud or maggot to demonize or other me simply for my beliefs. So I said to them, why don't you just call me a mutie while you're at it? For those of you who don't know, mutie is the slur used against mutants in the X-Men universe. The people who use the slurs chud or maggot are not self-aware enough to realize that they are just like the bigoted villains in the X-Men universe that they claim to hate. You are the bad guys. Now on to my thoughts on the first 2 episodes of X-Men 97. First, the animation. I hear from people who don't like the show who will say that at least the animation is good. Now, I'll have to strongly disagree. I'll be honest and say that some of the action scenes look cool. I mean, everyone, even myself, was impressed when we saw Gambit charge Wolverine's claws and they charged towards the camera. But they are actually fooling your brain into thinking the animation is cool because of how fast-paced it is. What's really going on is your brain is being shown so many images in such a short amount of time, it can't process what's actually going on. It's a distraction, so you don't notice how bad the animation really is. Take a look at the scenes when all that is happening is people are talking, and you'll see how janky it really is. It reminds me a lot of the animation from Archer. If you look at them side by side, you can see how similar they really are. The animation is very jerky and not fluid at all. Archer has the excuse of being a comedy, but what's X-Men 97's excuse? Now, to be fair, X-Men 92's animation wasn't great either, but animation is supposed to progress. This animation is still bad, it's just bad in a different way. If you want peak X-Men animation, I suggest Pride of the X-Men. My next complaint is that they changed some of the characters. Cyclops is way more cocky and arrogant. Some people like this change, but this is not how Scott Summers is supposed to be. This is supposed to be a counterpart to Wolverine. He's the Superman to the Justice League's Batman, Captain America to the Avengers' Iron Man, Leonardo to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles' Raphael, and when you have Cyclops and Wolverine both being the cocky, arrogant one, the dynamic doesn't work. Then there's Morph. First, they changed his powers. So now, not only can he look like any character, but now for some reason he gains their powers as well. In the 92 series, he couldn't do this, and that's why he always kept a blaster with him. So they OP'd Morph. Also, he's just a jerk. He's always screwing with Wolverine. For example, he offers to have a beer with Wolverine, and when Wolverine declines, he throws the snacks at Wolverine and then taunts him by changing into Sabretooth. This time it's clear that Wolverine is bothered by Jean being pregnant and her and Cyclops possibly leaving the team, and instead of consoling Wolverine, Morph mocks Wolverine's concerns. I've no idea why anyone would be friends with this guy. Of course, as they said, he's non-binary. They don't come out and say it, but Morph is clearly queer-coded, and apparently they refer to him as they, them in the credits. Again, pushing gender ideology onto children. There's a huge difference between tolerating gay people and pushing an agenda, and they are definitely pushing an agenda here. One of my biggest complaints is how they handled Magneto. He's called to the UN to face his charges of crimes against humanity. For those of you who don't remember, Magneto is an evil terrorist who, in his first appearance on the show, hijacked and launched nuclear missiles, potentially killing millions. If this had happened in real life, he would have been jailed for the rest of his life, never to see the light of day again, if not worse. But in this show, they let him go because he promised to be good, after he kidnapped the members of the UN, threatened their lives, and nearly killed them. But he said he's going to be a good boy, so it's okay, guys. He had the nerve to call them bigots, when he is the bigot. He tried to eliminate all of humanity on several occasions, and he calls mutants superior to humans. That is the definition of bigotry. And what did the X-Men do? They take him into their home, Rogue starts to simp for him, and Cyclops has coffee with him. And yes, I know all this happened in the comics before, and it was stupid then, and it's stupid now. This is very, extremely insulting to the audience. They're trying to manipulate you into thinking that he's a good guy now. And frankly, if you unironically sympathize with Magneto, you are gullible, and I question your own ethics and morality. It's a Storm losing her powers. And yes, I know this happened in the comics as well. But what's dumb about this is she lost her powers defending Magneto, the man who tried to kill her as well as the rest of the X-Men on several occasions. This is like a chicken saving the life of Colonel Sanders. And it's not like Magneto would have died, so she didn't save his life, she just prevented him from losing his powers. And Magneto deserves to have his powers taken away. He's a terrorist. But what I found interesting is that she was very upset by this. But isn't this what most mutants want? Now that she's a normal human being, she's not going to be discriminated against for being a mutant. Isn't that the X-Men's goal, to put an end to mutant discrimination? Other mutants like Rogue, Nightcrawler, or Beast would love to be in Storm's position. But then I realized that a lot of mutants like Storm love that they are more powerful than regular humans. Remember that in Africa, Storm was worshipped as a goddess. And in this second episode, she gets to order people around.
Magneto, you!
Now who does she think she...
Do not think. Be silent, heed my commands, and you shall survive.
She actually likes that humans fear her. If Xavier's dream were to become a reality, and humans no longer feared mutants, Storm would hate that. Similar to how race grifters operate in the real world. For example, if black people are no longer seen as being oppressed, people like Al Sharpton would be out of a job. Al Sharpton doesn't actually want racism to end, or else he would actually have to work for a living. That's why race grifters like him try to keep different races separated. Divide and conquer. That's why a lot of these so-called oppressed groups don't actually want equality. Because, unfortunately, playing the victim gives people power in our society today. If programs like affirmative action were actually eliminated, they would lose their advantage and actually have to compete fairly with the rest of us. Losing their victim status is just like a mutant losing their power. Then we come to the character that is the most interesting in these two episodes, the X-Cutioner. For those of you who don't know, the X-Cutioner is a normal human who gathered weapons from other X-Men enemies like the Sentinels. And yes, I'm going to defend this so-called villain and say he was right. Or at least, he had a point. Like I said earlier, Magneto deserved to have his powers taken away from him, if not worse. He's a terrorist. If anyone deserves to be executed, it's Magneto. And anyone out there who claims I'm defending a villain and a bigot, while simultaneously sympathizing with Magneto, you're a hypocrite, because Magneto is a bigot. He thinks that mutants are superior to humans. That's literally the definition of a bigot.
Our mutant powers make us superior. He believes we are the next stage in human evolution, beyond Homo sapiens, to Homo superior.
Villain, called the X-Cutioner, has a point. He's an ordinary human in a world filled with aliens, giant monsters, giant robots, and beings with superpowers constantly battling, with ordinary humans caught in the crossfire. There must be constant innocent casualties all the time. Mutants are dangerous in this world. His, I don't like to say fears, we'll say concerns, are justified. Now let's analyze what this character says in this clip.
Know what I hate about your kind? You act like you got it so bad. Normal people have it hard too. Harder. We just have the dignity not to whine about it. You see? It's the whining. I hate your whining just as much as I hate you.
Now, isn't he right, though? Don't normal people have it hard too, if not harder than mutants? Take Jean Grey, for example. She probably has it the easiest of all the X-Men. She's an attractive woman. There's nothing that stands out about her that indicates that she's a mutant. And if she never used her powers in public, nobody would ever know she was a mutant. She lives in a mansion with a private jet. All of her needs are taken care of. And on top of her life of privilege, she can read people's minds and has the ability to move things with her mind. She has absolutely nothing to complain about that would make her life any harder than anyone else. Now, of course, people will say, well, there are other mutants who have it much harder. There are other ones who can't hide their powers or whose powers are a hindrance to their lives, like I mentioned Nightcrawler, Beast, or Rogue. Well, as this episode showed us, technology exists that can turn mutants into ordinary humans, as we have seen with Storm. So any mutant who struggles to fit in or has trouble controlling their powers can simply choose to use this technology on themselves, and bam, problem solved. So now, since this technology exists, any mutant who has any problems because they are mutants have those problems because they choose to be mutants and choose to have those problems. All their problems are now self-inflicted because now they can become ordinary humans at any time. So now all mutants who remain mutants have forfeited their right to complain about anything because now that this technology exists, being mutant is a choice. So now they choose to be discriminated against. Now, I'm not going to say that the X-Cutioner is right for hating mutants, but he is right that now they have no right to whine since it's now a choice to be a mutant. Now, people have claimed that the Friends of Humanity charging the UN was supposed to represent the January 6th protests. Now, I didn't see it like that since the January 6th was a mostly peaceful protest, but I can definitely see how the left wing might see it as that since they were lied to by the mainstream media. But if that's what the people who made this show intended, then they missed the point of the X-Men. If the X-Men is about tolerance and acceptance, that means you have to tolerate people even if they have a different political view from yourself. So again, the makers of the show just exposed themselves as the bigots that they claim to hate by portraying half the country as villains. Again, they are the ones who are bigots. Now, moving on to the third episode. At the end of the episode, Beast explains that Scott and Madeline's child, Nathan, was infected with the techno-organic virus by Mr. Sinister, and they have to send him with Bishop into the future in hopes that Forge can find a cure.
No organic virus strain. Sinister was likely exposing Nathan to it in the hopes of making him invincible. Sinister's variant is too advanced. It could take months, even years to develop a cure.
So what you're saying is not here, not in our time. But what if there's a cure in yours, Bishop? In the future?
I do know a guy there. Smart. Can build anything.
Now, the problem I have is that the cure already exists. In the two-part episode titled Time Fugitives, Apocalypse has already created the techno-organic virus, and the X-Men have already cured it by using antibodies from Wolverine's blood.
Must be! It's the only way!
You've let Apocalypse kill him!
No. I've saved us all. Wolverine's special mutant immune system is curing him. And by doing so, is creating the antibodies that all mutants will need to survive.
Why does Bishop need to go into the future for a cure when they already have one? So the writers don't even know about the show they're working on. Now, some may say, well, this is a new strain that Mr. Sinister made. Well, then just do the same thing over again. Infect Wolverine and make antibodies from his blood. Frankly, the writers of this show are terrible if they didn't even know about the Time Fugitive episodes. Now again, in this episode, Morph acts like a jerk. He purposely tries to make Gambit feel bad by insinuating that Rogue is having an affair with Magneto.
Mon ami, maybe Gambit should have played less rough with you in the danger room, n'est-ce pas? But the cards, they wild.
Look at the schedule and see who's up next. Looks like Magneto and Rogue have the danger room next. Oh, And all tomorrow, too. Wow. Rogue's really training her stamina with the new boss.
It don't say that. Stay on patrol. On second thought, maybe Gambit go look for Rogue right now. Shush your little phone.
And they confirmed that Morph is gay by having Morph ask if Wolverine needs help in the shower. They also insinuate that Magneto and Professor X are gay when Rogue claims that the Professor loves Magneto.
Back when we were friends, I would always sense Charles in my mind. Not invading, more a presence. I was in his thoughts and he in mine. When we parted ways, I told myself I needed this to protect myself from his psychic powers.
But you were worried if you still felt how much he loved you, you wouldn't be able to go through with your crusade.
Frankly, it's Morph who thinks they're in hell when the Goblin Queen uses her powers on them. Keep sending Morph, and that's where you're gonna end up.
What the heck is going on? Haven't you figured it out? We're in hell.
Oh, how the X-Men have fallen. They went from Nightcrawler helping Wolverine restore his faith in God to...
Give thanks to you, O Lord, for though you were angry with me, your anger turned away and you comforted me. I will trust and will not be afraid.
to openly promoting sin to children.
Logan? Here. Need some help with those hard-to-reach spaces. We're in hell.
Anyway, that's about it for this video. I'm Alpha Eagle. God bless you for watching. God bless America. And I pray that the creators of this show see how they are bigoted against conservatives and that they stop promoting sin to children.